oh, this is dreadful. All right? And this isn't our actual workout. I'm doing all the drills in 1 minute. So you can do more repeats over a longer period of time. All right? So these are just kind of giving you a bunch. You can, and keep in mind, look at that hip flexibility.
Looks like we should throw you back in the water.
See, like, whole body doing its worst when we get the head mobility drills. I'm struggling to get off the ground. All right? So these are just, I'm going through the entire routine. It's a bad idea to do in 1 minute. You'll get exhausted. You see, look, I'm already hurting. This is terrible. Your legs need to be straight. I'm embarrassed. Your legs need to be straight when you're doing that. It's terrible.
This will make a great video. Thanks, Matt.
I thought about posting this online so you guys could get it at home, but I realized this is too dreadful. But everything I'm doing is slow and controlled. You know, there's certain things you want to do. When you're doing lunges, you want to keep your knee above your thing. Just like almost whatever you do, if you learn to properly lift, count. Pretty much want to do in dynamic stretching, you know, in terms of placement of everything. But, you know, our kids will go through this whole routine. You're flowing from one thing to the next thing, all right? You know, we're doing this over 15 to 20 meters, depending on the exercise. All right, and you do get a little rest in between, otherwise they die. Look at that hamstring flexibility. The thing worse than my flexibility is my balance. All right, so this is pretty much going through everything here. I think that's a solid squat right there. Plates on the heels. That's going to be kind of dragging on here. But these are things you could do. I would suggest doing dynamic stretching on any day you're going to do a high. I do it on every workout day. So anytime I'm doing intervals and stuff like that, that's when I have my kids do it. I always end every practice with static stretching done. You want to have that flexibility and there's just not too much. Now, this is probably not the greatest stretch in the world because it's causing torsion on those knees, and you really don't have that kind of side-to-side movement that most sports have. Now, look at the balance on this. I'm going to talk about standing on one foot, not being able to do it. Wait for this. It's this one right, yeah, right there. Great job.
When do you blow into the breathalyzer?
Yeah. It's worse. It's because this is like, what happens when you do these at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Matt, do you use this in your recruiting of high school students?
Do I show them this dynamic thing, or do I just mention it? No, I'll show you that. I have two kids from a school where their track coach was a drill sergeant in the Marines. They are spectacular at drills. So they actually showed up to the track when I was doing this, and they take over after I get tired. All right, so these are just, that's pretty much everything right now. At least that's all I can take. Typically, this is your core. Don't forget all these. All right? So you need to be addressing all these different core things. Why? Because we talked about it, and we talked about the hip strength, issues like that. Almost every single injury that you're going to have, even if it's down here, up here, is going to be related to something that's going on down here. All right? Another thing is, if you want kids, your kids to have longer strides, take a look at your kid. If I stick my butt out here like this, the issue with some kids we have, and we talked about that back issue down here, I can only lift my knee up this high. That's it. That's as high as I can get. That's not because I'm highly flexible. It is because I'm highly flexible, but like that. The moment I flex my quads up like that, or flex in here in the abs, look how high that leg gets. You know, so if you have weak down here and you see kids like this, they can't get that leg up. All right. I'll also tell you, I started doing core drills 5 years ago. I haven't had a side stitch since. All right. So all those kids are like, my side hurts. That's the worst injury in the world. Keep running. All right. Drink some water. I don't know. Eat a banana. Tell them something stupid. Put some icy hot on and make them feel it. And they're like, yeah, this works great. All right. It works for you. All right. So the way I do this, I incorporate traditional core drills, so like your crunches and stuff like that. Planks, which would be static core drills. Dynamic core drills would be like anything like movement, stuff like that. And if you want to have a fun time with core drills, go online, Google AbGripper 90X. There'll be 2 parts on 2 videos. Get yourself ready to do that. I dare you to do that all the way through. All right, it's a little more strength in the joints and ligaments and stuff like that. But because of that, it's very, very highly impacted. All right? So if you're going to do this, start on very low element plyometrics. If you're doing an A-stiff, that's a plyometric. All right, that's the lowest level plyometric, the sprint drills. All right, I almost had a conniption fit one time. I hired a new coach. He was in charge of jumpers. First day of practice, he pulls out a box this high, and his kids start doing depth jumps. Flexibility. I do hip mobility, please do not do what I do. All right? This can be extremely beneficial, especially to female runners, because that's usually where the hips are the issue. All right? So we're going to take a look at some of these. Oh, God, you want to see it. This is a case study. This is terrible. This is, oh, no. No. All right, try it again. All right, let's do it like that. All right, so these are fire hydrants. Not real creatively named. All right, look at how much my hips rotate over. You don't want that. PT people, am I wrong in thinking that's bad? That's atrocious. Look at this. This is supposed to be 3 parts. Look how much this is terrible. This is worse than the dynamic drills. But it's just kind of giving you a general idea. Like your legs should be straight and fluid, and I should have just had someone else do this. So my kids that's right where my kids showed up and started making fun of me about how inflexible I am. All right. You can decide if you want to do this one right here. This is the L7 position. However, you add a little flex like that. Careful of that one. Kids with knee problems don't do that one. You know, and that's all working that real hip flexor stuff in there. We also do the hip swings as a part of that. I just didn't feel like walking over to something and doing that. Side to side, front to back, start low, work to wider. All right, don't just start going like crazy like this, like kids do. That's when you pull something. You want to ease into it. Don't set a number on those. You don't be like, do 10. Just ease into it. All right, hurdle mobility, that's pretty much the same thing. The thing you need to realize about this, those hurdles are set at 36 inches. You put yours at 30. This kid's 6'7". All right, so they just put the hurdles up so it doesn't look so stupid. You put your hurdles as low as you can. You put in that button and you go below 30. All right? So he's just going to go through the spectrum of them, really kind of working on every kind of mobility like this. I wouldn't do hip mobility and hurdle mobility back to back. That's a bad idea. That's going to hurt. All right. Let me go through here and see. This one's not as impressive from him. Everyone else kind of struggles with this one, but since his legs are like a 48-inch seam or whatever, something like that. Things you can do in terms of strength training, we have a whole shin splint routine where we kind of walk up on our heels like this, toes forward. If you can't see what I'm doing, I'm way up on my heels like what you are when you were a little kid. You play around, you know, go up high on your toes. You can do the resistive strength where you put both feet out in front of you, and then you can point your toes forward and have someone hold it, and you kind of pull back. It's just kind of like resistive strength exercise, stuff like that. I can go through that. Usually when kids my shins hurt, I can go over and hold their foot down with one finger, you know, just to show you the strength issues there. And it all comes from these issues that we talked about earlier. Another way to do foot strengthening and lower leg strengthening. Now this is kind of, this is kind of where this falls in your philosophy of things. Because there's this big continuum of people where you have orthotics and motion controlled shoes down here, and then down here I saw someone wearing a Nike Free. All right, that's 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. That's one person saying we can correctively change everything. This person saying my foot will do what it's supposed to do. All right, I will tell you it's kind of hard to switch back and forth. All right, so what we do is we'll do get foot strengthening and some lower leg strengthening. We'll find a safe, soft area, and we'll do barefoot running, all right? If you're in Arundel County, you're lucky you have turf fields, all right? Just sneak on there. I know they don't want you on there. If you're the cross-country team track, you just sneak on the turf, all right? You know, we do it 2 to 3 times a week. We do it as cool-down strides. We do all our drills. Something barefoot like that. With high school kids, if a kid's not, they're like, my parents just spent $70 on a new pair of orthotics today, and I just bought $120 in Nimbus shoes and all. Because the kid's going to talk like that and tell you all the things, like, just leave your shoes on. You can do barefoot running with your shoes on. Just do barefoot inside the sock. All right? But it's more kind of like, where do you fall along? If you don't feel comfortable doing that, don't do it. You know, I find it does help a little bit. It kind of gets the blood flowing again like that. If you have a kid with foot injuries or shin splint problems, you probably don't want them doing that. It might help, it might not. Just kind of depends how much you want to risk. The PT people here, I probably just made it about half of them cringe, especially the orthotics guy. All right, now here's my deal on strength training in high school. You can get more benefit out of your kid just by running a little bit more than you can out of strength training. But if you have a kid that's kind of hit the top of what you feel comfortable taking them at, you've peaked them at the volume that you feel comfortable going at max volume, and they're fairly well built, they're physically ready, then you can, I would say, add in strength training. But in terms of, if you want to take your whole distance cross-country team in there and start them on a strength training program,